So under the previous video we set in place the HTML part of our contact form, but I think you already noticed that even if we complete the contact form and click on the submit button, actually on the send button, nothing basically happens since we don't have any specific business logic to handle the case where we submit the contact form and actually send and receive an email. So let me show you. Click on the send, nothing happens. So under this video, our main focus is to create a Spring Boot backend server, at least the initial configuration, to set up the infrastructure to handle this. So let's navigate to start.spring.io, the main Spring initializer page, to define a project. So for the project we need to choose Maven project. For the language we will go with Java. On the Spring Boot version we'll go with 2.3.3. For the project metadata, on the group I set up com project, artifact backend, name backend, a specific description, a package name com.backend. The packaging will be set to jar, and for the Java version that we can work with is Java 11. We're not interested now in the dependencies since the dependencies will be set in a manual way. Let's generate the project now. Wait a few seconds for this to finish. And you see that I have a backend zip file and I need to extract it. So I extracted it next to the front-end folder. So this is a straightforward Spring Boot Java application based on Maven. And you see that I have imported it under Spring Tool Suite IDE using this import functionality, and selected the existing Maven project and the backend folder. So once again, this is just a plain Spring Boot Java app. We can start it here and let's see what is happening. Basically not much since the application has started and already finished its execution. So let's go under the pom.xml file and add some manual dependencies. First, I would like to add a dependency to keep the application up and running using a embedded Tomcat server. So for the dependency, I will select the group ID as org Spring Framework boot. And for the artifact, we'll go with Spring Boot Starter Web. And as a second dependency, org Spring Framework boot. I want to set up the infrastructure to be able to send emails from the Spring Boot app. So Spring Boot Starter Mail. So very simple. Now let's clean the logs and restart the application. Spring Boot app is started. And you can see now that an embedded Tomcat server is running on port 8080 and basically keeps our application up and running. So let's minimize this and let's do a test, localhost 8080, and boom, we have the white label error page. This is something that we expect since we don't have any way to gestionate our request so far. So in order to do this, let's create a simple package and we can call it com.backend and controller, and inside this we can create a simple class. Let's call it contact controller. Let's increase a bit the font size for you to properly see. And this contact controller class needs to be annotated with REST controller to handle specific REST requests. And also let's annotate it with request mapping so that we can access this controller navigating to API contact URL. Let's set in place a method that will be annotated with get mapping. So this will respond to HTTP GET request. So you can test it using your browser. So public string. And let's call it contact. Actually contact test. Let's import the get mapping, and as a simple test let's return the string contact test. Now let's restart the application. So I stopped it, clear the logs, and start the Spring Boot app once again. Good, application has started, and let's go to our browser and test this simple request. So localhost 8080 API contact, and you see the contact test in place.